Dr. Elena Reyes stood motionless before the massive display at the Deep Space Listening Array, her dark eyes fixed on the pattern that shouldn't exist. 20 years of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life had taught her to be skeptical, but this signal was different. It pulsed with mathematical precision, carrying patterns too complex to be natural phenomena. "Run it again," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. The computer obliged, displaying the same sequence that had appeared 3 hours ago. The signal originated from the direction of the Carina Nebula, approximately 7,500 light-years from Earth. Behind her, Dr. James Chen, her colleague of 15 years, spoke quietly. "Elena, this is the 17th analysis. The pattern remains consistent. It's not random, and it's not one of ours." The implications hung heavy in the air of the control room. Humanity had finally received proof they weren't alone in the universe. But something about the signal made Elena's instincts scream danger. "Look at the complexity curve." She pointed to a particular section of the analysis. "This isn't just a hello. This is a data packet, and it's targeted specifically at our detection capabilities." At the United Earth Defense Council's emergency session 12 hours later, Elena faced the assembled representatives of Earth's most powerful nations. The chamber, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, hummed with tension. "The signal contains technological specifications," Elena explained, her presentation displaying complex schematics. "The Nexari, as they call themselves, are offering us faster-than-light travel technology. They claim to be a peaceful civilization, seeking to welcome humanity into a larger galactic community." Admiral Sarah Torres, her uniform bearing the insignia of the newly formed United Earth Fleet, leaned forward. "And you believe this is a threat?" Elena nodded grimly. "The specifications they've sent us are incomplete. They're designed to make us dependent on their guidance. More importantly, the technology they're offering would require us to completely redesign our existing space fleet." "That doesn't sound unreasonable," one of the civilian representatives interjected. "If we're joining a galactic community, shouldn't we adapt to their standards?" "No." Admiral Torres's voice cut through the murmurs. "We'd have to scrap our entire defense infrastructure. Our ships, our weapons, our tactical doctrine. Everything we've built over the last century." Her eyes met Elena's. "They want us to make ourselves vulnerable." The next transmission arrived 3 days later. The Nexari announced they were sending a diplomatic vessel to Earth. Their message was perfectly polite, but the subtext was clear. They weren't asking for permission. In her private office, Elena reviewed the data with Admiral Torres and the UED's Chief of Military Intelligence, Colonel Marcus Wong. The holographic display showed the projected course of the Nexari vessel. "They're making a statement," Colonel Wong observed. "Their ship will pass through 6 of our major colony systems before reaching Earth. They want to demonstrate their technological superiority." Admiral Torres's expression remained neutral, but her eyes gleamed. "Let them come. Project Aegis is ready." Elena looked up sharply. "Project Aegis? I don't have clearance for that information." "You do now." Torres handed her a secure tablet. 20 years ago, we discovered something in the Kuiper Belt. It wasn't a signal. It was a wreck. Alien, but not Nexari. The technology was centuries ahead of ours, but the ship had been destroyed by simple kinetic weapons. Elena's eyes widened as she read the classified files. "You've been preparing for this. Humanity learned a crucial lesson from that wreck." Torres smiled grimly. "Advanced energy weapons and shields mean nothing if a tungsten rod hits you at relativistic speeds. We've spent 2 decades building our fleet around that principle, disguising our true capabilities behind seemingly primitive technology." The final transmission from the Nexari arrived a week later. Their diplomatic vessel would arrive in 30 days. As Elena decoded the message, she found herself smiling despite the gravity of the situation. The Nexari were coming to Earth expecting to find a primitive species ready to be guided or subjugated. Instead, they would discover why humans had always preferred to build their ships like floating fortresses rather than delicate energy projectors. They would learn why Earth's outdated kinetic weapons had never been replaced with more advanced energy weapons. Most importantly, they would learn why it's dangerous to assume that technological advancement always follows the same path. Humanity had chosen a different route, one that was about to shock the galaxy. The Nexeri diplomatic vessel emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. To the casual observer, it appeared both beautiful and impossibly advanced compared to the bulky human ships that moved to escort it. Captain Diana Chen of the UES Sentinel watched the alien ship approach, her expression carefully neutral. "Their energy readings are off the charts," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his sensor station. "Their drive signature alone could power half of Earth for a year." "And yet," Chen replied softly, "they still need to obey the laws of physics." She tapped her command console, sending an encoded burst transmission to the rest of the escort fleet. The seemingly crude chemical thrusters on their ships concealed far more sophisticated technology, just as their thick armor plating hid secrets that had taken decades to perfect. The Nexeri vessel's commander, High Emissary Cyril, requested permission to dock with the Sentinel rather than proceed directly to Earth. As the alien ship extended its docking tube, Chen received a priority message from Admiral Torres. They took the bait. The meeting room aboard the Sentinel had been carefully prepared. Every visible piece of technology was deliberately outdated, every display purposefully crude. High Emissary Cyril entered with an air of barely concealed superiority, his crystalline form shifting colors in what Chen recognized as a display of emotional states. "Captain Chen." Cyril's translator rendered his harmonic speech into English. "Your vessel is interesting. We noticed you still rely on chemical propulsion and physical armor. Most species abandon such inefficient methods once they achieve basic space travel. We work with what we know," Chen replied with carefully crafted humility. "Humanity has always believed in building on proven technologies rather than making dramatic leaps." The emissary's form flickered with what might have been amusement, a wise but limiting philosophy. "However, we are here to help you advance. The galaxy is a dangerous place for primitive species." At that moment, alarms blared across the ship. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice came through the comm. "Captain, we're detecting multiple hyperspace signatures at the edge of the system. They match the Nexeri energy profile, but they're not diplomatic vessels." Cyril's crystalline form pulsed with dark satisfaction. "Ah, it seems our defense fleet has arrived early. Please understand, Captain, this is for your own protection. Humanity requires guidance to join the galactic community properly." Chen stood slowly, her hand resting on the command console. "Protection, Emissary Cyril, or conquest?" She pressed a single button, and throughout the Sol system, humanity's carefully maintained facade began to fall away. The Sentinel's crude armor plates shifted, revealing banks of advanced mass drivers and missile tubes. Similar transformations occurred across the escort fleet as hidden weapon systems came online. But most importantly, the vast sensor networks that had been disguised as debris and defunct satellites activated, painting a complete picture of the incoming Nexeri fleet. "Interesting fact about human history," Chen said, watching Cyril's form flicker with confusion. "We learned long ago that the best way to survive a superior force is to let them underestimate you." The Nexeri defense fleet dropped out of hyperspace, 30 ships strong, their energy weapons charging. They expected to find a primitive civilization's token resistance. Instead, they encountered 200 human vessels emerging from carefully concealed positions throughout the system. Another interesting fact, Chen continued as Cyril's translator struggled to keep up with her calm recitation. "Humans never abandoned kinetic weapons because we discovered something your people seem to have forgotten. No energy shield, no matter how advanced, can ignore momentum." The first salvo from the human fleet demonstrated this principle perfectly. Tungsten rods, accelerated to relativistic speeds by electromagnetic mass drivers, tore through the Nexeri ships' supposedly impenetrable shields as if they weren't there. How? Chiral's harmonics had shifted to frequencies that made the translator crackle. Your technology, your ships, are exactly what we wanted you to see, Chen finished. While you were scanning our chemical thrusters and laughing at our armor plating, you missed the gravitational pulse drives and the quantum-locked hull materials. We learned long ago that the best defense isn't an energy shield. It's making your enemy miss what's right in front of them. The battle in the outer system lasted less than 10 minutes. The Nexeri fleet, caught completely off guard by weapons they had dismissed as primitive, found their advanced shields useless against simple physics. Their energy weapons, designed to overwhelm shields, barely scratched the human ship's advanced armor. As Chen watched the Nexeri vessels either surrender or retreat in disarray, she turned to the stunned emissary. Now shall we discuss real diplomacy? As equals this time. The response came not from Chiral, but from the long-range sensors. More Nexeri ships were emerging from hyperspace, hundreds of them. The real invasion force had arrived. Well, Chen sighed, keying her command codes into the console. I suppose we'll have to show them why humans build our ships like fortresses. Signal all fleet elements. Operation Darkstar is now in effect. Throughout the Sol system, thousands of automated platforms began to power up, their existence hidden until this very moment. The real demonstration of humanity's preparation was about to begin. Admiral Sarah Torres stood in the Strategic Command Center deep beneath Olympus Mons on Mars, watching as thousands of red dots representing the Nexeri invasion fleet filled the holographic display. Around her, the command staff worked with practiced efficiency, their movements reflecting years of preparation for this exact scenario. Status of Operation Darkstar, she asked, her voice cutting through the controlled chaos of the command center. Colonel Wong responded immediately. All automated defense platforms are online. Ghost Fleet is in position, awaiting your command. Project Chimera is ready for deployment. Torres allowed herself a grim smile. The Nexeri thought they had caught humanity unprepared, relying on seemingly primitive technology. They were about to learn why Sun Tzu had written that all warfare is based on deception. Signal all fleet elements, she commanded. Execute Operation Iron Dawn. Across the solar system, humanity's true defensive network revealed itself. What the Nexeri had dismissed as space debris and defunct satellites suddenly came alive. Thousands of stealth platforms, their existence hidden by quantum camouflage technology, powered up their weapon systems. In the outer system, the Nexeri invasion fleet pressed forward, confident in their superior numbers and advanced energy weapons. Their sensors showed only scattered human resistance, exactly what Admiral Torres wanted them to see. They're moving into the kill box, Colonel Wong reported. Ghost Fleet is in optimal position. The Ghost Fleet was humanity's masterpiece of deception. Ships that could bend light and gravity around themselves, appearing as nothing more than empty space. While the Nexeri focused on the visible human defenders, these invisible predators moved into position. Execute Phase 1, Torres ordered. Show them why we never bothered with energy weapons. The first hint the Nexeri had that something was wrong came when their rear elements began disappearing. There was no energy signature, no warning. Just the silent impact of relativistic kinetic rounds, accelerated to speeds that turned simple tungsten rods into weapons that could crack planets. Enemy fleet is responding, Wong reported. They're attempting to form a defensive sphere. Perfect. Torres nodded to her weapons officer. Deploy the Chimeras. From hidden hangars across the asteroid belt, a new type of vessel emerged. To Nexeri sensors, they appeared to be badly damaged human ships, leaking radiation and trailing debris. The aliens' arrogance worked against them as their fleet moved to finish off these seemingly easy targets. The Chimeras were humanity's ultimate trump card, ships that could literally change their physical structure. As the Nexeri fleet moved to engage, The damaged vessels suddenly transformed. Their hulls split apart, revealing nested weapon systems that defied conventional space combat doctrine. Multiple impacts confirmed, Wong announced. Nexary shields are failing across all sectors. Their formation is breaking up. The aliens had built their entire defense doctrine around energy shields and plasma weapons. They never expected an enemy to bypass shields entirely with weapons based on simple physics. The Chimeras demonstrated this perfectly, their metamorphic hulls launching salvos of kinetic penetrators that ignored shields completely. In the command center, Torres watched as the holographic display showed the Nexary fleet's cohesion crumbling. Signal Admiral Chen. Begin Phase 2. The human fleet that had been seemingly retreating suddenly turned back. But instead of engaging with conventional weapons, they began launching what appeared to be clouds of metallic dust. The Nexary commanders, already struggling with the Ghost Fleet's attacks, paid little attention to this apparently futile tactic. That was their final mistake. Activate the nanite swarms, Torres commanded. The clouds of metallic dust came alive, revealed as billions of microscopic machines. While the Nexary had focused on building bigger ships and more powerful energy weapons, humanity had gone smaller. The nanite swarms infiltrated the alien vessels through their energy shield frequencies, turning their technology against them. Nexary flagship is signaling, a communications officer reported. They're requesting terms. Torres studied the tactical display. The alien fleet, which had arrived expecting an easy conquest, was now in chaos. Their advanced shields proved useless against kinetic weapons they had dismissed as primitive. Their sensors, calibrated for energy weapons, couldn't track the Ghost Fleet. And now their own ships were being dismantled from within by technology they hadn't even considered a threat. Open a channel, she ordered. Let's show them that humans can be merciful in victory. As she prepared to address the Nexary commander, Torres reflected on the irony of the situation. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to find a primitive species in need of guidance. Instead, they found an adversary that had spent decades preparing for this exact moment, developing technologies and tactics specifically designed to counter advanced alien civilizations. But even as she formulated Earth's terms, new alerts flashed across the tactical display. The Nexary home fleet had been mobilized, and it was far larger than anything they had encountered so far. The real test of humanity's preparations was about to begin. Supreme Commander Vexteri of the Nexary home fleet watched the battle recordings for the 100th time, his crystalline form darkening with each viewing. The humans had not just defeated their invasion force, they had systematically dismantled it using technologies that by all logic shouldn't exist. Impossible, he muttered, freezing the image of a human Ghost Fleet vessel materializing from seemingly empty space. Their technological level was assessed at Grade 3. These capabilities are at least Grade 7, possibly higher. His strategic advisor, Matrix Lord Zenthal, shifted colors in agitation. The assessment was based on their visible infrastructure and emissions. We never considered they might be deliberately hiding their true capabilities. The massive command deck of the Nexary dreadnought Eternal Light hummed with activity as the largest fleet ever assembled in Nexary history prepared for emergency translation. 10,000 ships, ranging from nimble corvettes to planet-cracking dreadnoughts, all equipped with the most advanced technology in known space. The humans must be stopped, Vexteri declared. Their very existence threatens the established order. No species should be able to advance along a different technological path than the one we guide them toward. But even as the Nexary home fleet prepared to depart, human intelligence assets were already in motion. Deep within the Eternal Light, microscopic sensors that had been smuggled aboard through routine trade with buffer species transmitted critical data back to Earth. In her command center on Mars, Admiral Torres reviewed the incoming intelligence. They're mobilizing everything, she noted, studying the Nexary fleet formations. This isn't just about conquest anymore. They're frightened of us. Dr. Elena Reyes, now serving as humanity's chief sinological advisor, nodded in agreement. We've shattered their worldview. The Nexeri built their civilization on the belief that technological progress follows a single, predictable path. We've proven that assumption wrong, and that terrifies them. Good, Torres replied. Fear makes them predictable. Colonel Long, is Project Oracle ready? Wong's hologram nodded. All quantum entanglement nodes are in position. The moment their fleet enters hyperspace, we'll know their exact exit coordinates. The Nexeri home fleet launched with overwhelming force, their hyperspace wake visible to sensors across multiple star systems. They expected to catch Earth's forces still recovering from the previous battle. Instead, they found humanity had already prepared the battlefield. As the Nexeri fleet emerged from hyperspace, they immediately encountered conditions their sophisticated sensors couldn't explain. Space itself seemed to behave differently, with gravitational distortions affecting their carefully planned formation. Multiple anomalies detected, Zenfel reported, his crystalline form flickering with confusion. Our sensors are reporting impossible readings. Vexteri watched in mounting horror as his perfect formation began to break apart. The humans hadn't just prepared defenses, they had weaponized the laws of physics itself. Quantum filaments, invisible to conventional sensors, shredded ships that strayed from their designated corridors. Artificial gravity wells pulled entire squadrons off course, forcing them into overlapping fields of fire. And everywhere, human vessels seemed to appear from nowhere, strike with devastating force, and vanish again. They're not fighting a war, Vexteri realized too late. They're conducting an experiment in applied physics with our fleet as the test subjects. In the Mars Command Center, Torres watched the Nexeri fleet's confusion with grim satisfaction. Activate the quantum disruption grid, she ordered. Let's show them why we spent so much time studying dimensional physics instead of building bigger energy weapons. Across the battlefield, hidden human installations activated, creating a web of intersecting quantum fields. To the Nexeri, it appeared as if reality itself was breaking down. Their advanced sensors, calibrated for normal space, were worse than useless in this environment. This is Admiral Torres to all Nexeri forces. Her transmission cut across all frequencies. You're trapped in a quantum disruption field of our design. Your hyperspace drives will not function here. Your energy weapons will only make the distortions worse. Surrender now, or watch your fleet tear itself apart attempting to fight in conditions it was never designed to handle. Vexteri stared at the tactical display, watching his mighty fleet flailing against an enemy that had turned the fundamental forces of the universe into weapons. His entire understanding of warfare, based on technological superiority through energy manipulation, had just been proven obsolete. But even as he prepared to signal surrender, a new alert caught his attention. Deep within Nexeri space, something ancient was stirring, something that had seen this type of warfare before. The precursor archives, sealed for millennia, had detected the quantum disturbances and initiated their emergency protocols. As the Nexeri fleet ceased fire, both sides remained unaware that their conflict had awakened something that would force them to reevaluate everything they thought they knew about the galaxy's history. Deep within the Nexeri homeworld, ancient machinery stirred to life. The precursor archives, dormant for countless millennia, had detected something they were programmed to recognize: quantum warfare technology that hadn't been seen since the fall of their civilization. On the bridge of the UES Sentinel, Captain Chen received the first warnings. "Ma'am, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the direction of Nexeri Prime. Nothing in our database matches these readings." In the Mars Command Center, Dr. Elena Reyes watched as her instruments recorded impossible data. "Admiral Torres, whatever's happening on the Nexeri homeworld, it's affecting the fabric of space-time itself." The massive holographic displays in both human and Nexeri command centers suddenly flickered, replaced by images that seemed to defy reality. A voice spoke, simultaneously in all known languages, its tone carrying the weight of eons. "After 50,000 years, the parameters have been met. Two species, one having chosen the path of energy, one having chosen the path of matter, both now capable of manipulating the fundamental forces of reality. Supreme Commander Vexteri's crystalline form pulsed with recognition. The precursors, the legends were true. The voice continued. We were not destroyed by war or natural disaster. We chose to wait, to see which species would rediscover the truth we learned too late. That true mastery of the universe requires understanding of both energy and matter, of both visible power and subtle manipulation. In orbit around Earth, massive structures began to emerge from dimensional pockets that shouldn't exist. Ancient installations, built by a civilization that had mastered both paths of technological development, revealed themselves across the galaxy. The Nexari chose the path of energy, pursuing ever more powerful ways to manipulate forces, the voice explained. Humanity chose the path of matter, learning to work with the fundamental properties of the universe rather than trying to overpower them. Both paths are incomplete alone. Admiral Torres exchanged glances with Dr. Reyes. All this time, we thought we were preparing for war, but we were actually taking part in a test. Not a test, the voice corrected. An evolution. Your conflict has proven that both species are ready to learn the whole truth. The galaxy is far more complex than either of you imagined, and far more dangerous. The ancient machinery projected images of threats that made both human and Nexari weapons seem primitive. Cosmic horrors that existed between dimensions, entities that fed on entire civilizations, and dangers that could not be fought with either energy or matter alone. This is why we waited, the voice explained. Why we left our technology scattered across the galaxy in forms that each species would interpret differently. The Nexari found our energy manipulation devices and built their civilization around them. Humanity found our quantum manipulation technology and developed it in their own way. Supreme Commander Vexteri addressed the presence, his pride giving way to understanding. You're saying we need each other. Your conflict has proven you're both ready for the truth. The real war hasn't even begun. In the following days, as human and Nexari leaders met to discuss this revelation, a new understanding emerged. The Nexari's mastery of energy technology complemented humanity's expertise in quantum mechanics and physical manipulation. Together, they could achieve things neither species could manage alone. Admiral Torres stood with Supreme Commander Vexteri in the newly established Joint Command Center, watching as human and Nexari ships began joint training exercises. The human vessels, with their matter manipulation technology and kinetic weapons, were being fitted with Nexari energy systems. The Nexari ships were being upgraded with human quantum technology. We spent so long preparing to fight each other, Vexteri observed, that we never stopped to consider why our technologies developed along such different paths. The precursors engineered it, Torres replied. They needed two species to master different aspects of universal law. Now we have to learn to combine them. Dr. Rice, analyzing the vast database the precursors had left them, looked up from her work. According to these records, what's coming will make our recent conflict look like a children's game. We're going to need every advantage both our species can provide. As if to emphasize her point, the long-range sensors detected something massive entering the galaxy's outer rim. The precursors' warnings were proving true sooner than anyone had expected. Well, Torres said, watching as the combined human Nexari fleet moved into defensive positions, at least we've had practice working together. Signal all ships, human and Nexari. Whatever's coming, they're about to learn why you should never underestimate species that think differently. The galaxy was about to discover that the greatest strength isn't in choosing one path of advancement, but in learning to combine different approaches in ways your enemies would never expect. As human ingenuity merged with Nexari power, a new age of warfare and cooperation was about to begin.